Hey everyone, I'm Catherine Lyshan and I'm an Associate Professor of Geography at the University of Exeter's Penryn campus. I'd just like to congratulate you for taking part in the research showcase. That's my dog growling. It's a great opportunity for you to show your emerging research talents and your great ideas. These are the ideas that are going to change the world in some cases, and they're adding to the store of knowledge that all research contributes to. You've also developed some great skills in doing this, partly about actually conducting research, but also presenting your research to a diverse audience, ranging from experts and non-experts. And that's a really important skill that you can take into your future careers, whether they lie in research or not. So thanks for participating in our research showcase, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about all the research that you've done.
Hi, I'm Susanna Cornwall. I'm the Director of Education in Theology and Religion and Liberal Arts. It's great that you've got involved in the Undergraduate Research Showcase. Congratulations on having done that. One of the things that we really want to do while you're students with us at Exeter is to help you cultivate your own identity as a researcher. One of the things that we really love to see in your essays and in all of your written work is that you are taking part in a scholarly conversation that has already started, but that you are genuinely contributing to yourself. And getting involved in the Undergraduate Research Showcase is a really brilliant way to develop your own confidence as a researcher and to be able to contribute to that conversation. So well done, brilliant to have you taking part. And I hope that you enjoy seeing all the great work that's been produced by others as well.
So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining this online launch event for the university's Undergraduate Research Showcase. As Emily said, I'm Professor Tim Quine, and as Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Education, it's my real pleasure to be speaking to you today, and more importantly, to be joining in the celebration of the excellence of research produced by our undergraduate students. As we've had to say over a number of times this year, it's such a shame that we can't be hosting this event and meeting in person, but it's great to see it translating successfully to an online mode and to see the showcase carrying on for the rest of this week. I'm going to speak a little bit for a few minutes about the value we place on undergraduate research throughout the university and the benefits of participating in it. And then I'm looking forward to reading out the winners and the highly commended students in the poster and abstract categories, and more importantly, to hearing people speak later on. The Undergraduate Research Showcase is an exhibition and celebration of undergraduate research across the institution, and it's run since 2016. It's a hugely important demonstration of the culture of our university and of the value that we place on involving all students in the exciting process of research, discovery and dissemination. Of course, Exeter is a research-intensive university, but it also has a long-standing reputation for and commitment to excellent education. We're always trying to say, how can we integrate students more into absolutely everything that we do? One could say that universities are fundamentally crucibles for ideas. This was a theme that a former Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Research, Nick Talbot, used to talk about passionately. We can think of them as places where together we explore our understanding of societies, our world, the universe, and our place in each of those. They're places where new challenges are uncovered and addressed using imagination and creativity, where the old is explored in new and innovative ways, and where we communicate our excitement for our endeavour to each other, to wider society, and obviously to our academic colleagues. Because we see this sort of notion of the university as this crucible of ideas as a shared endeavour, when we wanted to create our new education strategy, we engaged in consultation across the whole university, and we set up a number of consultation areas that we wanted to focus on. And for each of those, we set up a team leading each theme, and each of those teams composed of at least one student, one member of academic staff, and one member of professional service staff. In many cases, it was several more, because we wanted to make sure that we had the voice of all members of our community in that discussion around the education strategy. If you've had a chance to look at it, you'll see that in it, we define ourselves as an international learning community of students and staff in an education research ecosystem. Not everybody likes that turn of phrase. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I want to illustrate just for a few minutes what I mean by that. And if you take a look at the strategy, you'll see some of the themes that I'm going to talk about for a moment. We've got a star diagram in there, and at the heart of it, we've put international learning community of students and staff. And when we think about, what does that mean in a research-intensive university? People often talk about research-inspired learning. And sometimes that's really the sort of end of the story in terms of the relationship between education and research. And for us, I would say it was just the beginning. We certainly pride ourselves on having that ethos of research-inspired teaching and learning. Throughout your degrees, you'll be learning from world-leading colleagues who are at the forefront of their respective fields, whether they're tackling global grand challenges such as climate change, social justice, or food security, or understanding the way that societies interact, or looking into the deep past of the universe, or the deep past of human civilization. There are so many different ways that we are exploring the frontiers of knowledge. But it's important that we go beyond that. So moving round the star diagram we've got, or the rose diagram, we talk about the staff-student dynamic in teaching and learning, inspiring research ideas. And one great example of that was through our climate change MOOCs, where one of the student leaders of the discussion forums on there started to create a map, a bit like the one that was on screen at the beginning of the conference just now, showing where different learners on the MOOC, the massive open online course, were located around the world, and encouraged them to write stories about their experience of climate change. So what started as an education program, what started as a teaching activity, pretty rapidly turned into a research activity, and certainly stimulated new ideas. Moving around the diagram, we've got students and staff undertake research that enhances their own learning. And a great example of that is the iGEM competition that takes place every year. I mean, we could think of many examples, but I'll just pick out iGEM for illustration. This is the international competition in genetically engineered machines, and collaborative teams from across the university work on really interesting challenges to see, well, how might we address some of those using the potential for genetic engineering. And this year the focus was on trying to come up with carbon neutral alternatives to concrete. I think last year's project was a fascinating one as well, looking at microplastics and how we might remove those from washing machines. So some amazing, really cutting edge ideas that have been taken forward through student-staff interaction there. In other ways, students and staff engage in knowledge exchange activities. I think we've had some great examples in the area of mental health with the campaign around Stay Well in Exeter, as just one example of that, reaching out, because often you as students can see ways to explain the topic to the outside world, to your peers, to your family, to your friends, in ways that perhaps those with a more detailed technical knowledge sometimes don't always do quite so well. So you've got a fantastic role to play there in explaining the new discoveries to the world beyond the university. We're also aware that a key feature of our international learning community is that students get involved in publishing research outputs. So we've always known that research students get involved in publishing research outputs. It's part of the nature of the role. But we were really interested a few years ago to explore how much engagement there was in undergraduate and taught postgraduate students in research publication. And in the first census we did over the previous 2 or 3 year period, we found over 100 examples of student engagement in publishing research. And then coming round the dial a bit further, we come to graduates are change agents and ambassadors. And I could choose from a whole plethora of examples of the way that both current students and graduates are involved in change agency. And perhaps one good example that illustrates both is in the work that Robin Chu has established. He's established the organisation called CoachBright, in which academic coaching is provided to disadvantaged students in secondary schools, and the coaching is undertaken by current undergraduate students. So it's a great example of the way that Robin took his understanding of challenges facing students in higher education and facing students getting into higher education and brought together a research-based approach to addressing that problem, which capitalizes on the enthusiasm and excitement of students across universities, including Exeter. So in the round, if we think about all of those different ways that we've got this interaction between students, staff, both academic and professional service staff, we can see some of the themes that I think characterizes this concept of an international learning community of students and staff, and that collectively we are advancing knowledge and scholarship and making a real difference to the world around us. So this research showcase is a great example of that international learning community in action, celebrating, as it does, your active engagement in research. We know that over 3,700 students undertook a final year research project or dissertation last academic year. And obviously we really want to showcase that work. And we want to encourage you through your work to think about how you can really build on it to make a positive contribution to society, to get engaged in that dissemination of the new knowledge that you've explored. That ethos of co-creation with you that was a theme around the international learning community really is vital to us. And I want to highlight another couple of ways in which, in addition to the research showcase, that we are exploring how we can co-create with students. And the first that many of you will be aware of is the well-established Grand Challenges programme, which for the first time last year had to go to a fully online delivery mode. And if you haven't had a chance to get involved, I'd really encourage you to think about it for this year, because we will again be running it, whether it's in person or online. In that, we've got students at the heart of Grand Challenges, but working alongside some of our leading academic staff and external contributors to tackle some of the world's knottiest problems. And it really is great to see the creativity and the exciting ideas that come forward when people are freed from the shackles of formal assessment. So it's another fantastic illustration of student-staff interaction in research creation. The other example I just wanted to touch on, I see the incubator is mentioned in the programme further on, is that 4 years ago we established our education incubator. And this is really designed to be a sort of a lab for learning and teaching. So how do we go about advancing the way that we go about teaching in a university environment? How do we go about ways that increase engagement, improve learning, capitalize perhaps on digital technologies, but not always on digital technologies, and how can we build on those? So right from the start, those projects have had a real focus on student involvement in understanding how we take them forward. And recently we've hosted a call through the incubator for student-led projects aimed at promoting racial equality through education. We've awarded a number of those projects recently, and we're looking forward to seeing the outcomes of that process. Of course, alongside that, we've been in a huge experiment really for the last 13 months in how to move rapidly from programs designed to be delivered on campus to programs that can be delivered in a blended and online environment. And that, in a sense, that's a huge education research project. And again, we were absolutely passionate. We involved students right from the start in that. So we've had the digital learning developers who are recent graduates involved in being trained up to support the creation of digital learning material, and the roles that we call digital learning analysts, who are current students involved in reviewing the material, giving feedback, and talking about the quality of and the engagement and the suitability of the digital resources that we've been creating to try and make sure that we can support learning throughout this extraordinary year. So just to return to the Undergraduate Research Showcase itself, since its inception, we've included over 250 students' work across a wide variety of disciplines. Over the last 4 years, 8 students have also been selected to participate in the National Posters in Parliament Showcase, where their research is presented to MPs, including Exeter's Ben Bradshaw. A number of students have also had the opportunity to present their work at the annual British Conference of Undergraduate Research. Indeed, the winning students we announced this afternoon will be doing so at this year's online conference hosted by the University of Leeds, which is expecting 600 attendees to this year's conference. We've also submitted a proposal to host the conference in future, so we'll hope that will come to pass. It's also inspiring to see the number of students who've presented the research showcase go on to see their work published. I've mentioned already that engagement in peer-reviewed publication, and we're aware of at least 5 such publications coming out of the participation in the showcase over the last few years, which have resulted in research publications, including from last year, Ferdinand Boucher, whose work on gender dysphoria, a review investigating the relationship between genetic influences and brain development, was published in Adolescent Health, Medicine and Therapeutics, and was also presented at the British Undergraduate Conference. So this year we've received 70 submissions from 65 students spanning all of our 6 colleges and all our campuses in Exeter and Cornwall. It's a record number of submissions. In itself, it shows the strength of undergraduate research here at Exeter, and it spans the full spectrum of our disciplines and research activity here. I know the judging panel, made up of John Shanahan from the Academic Skills team, Carlos Cortinas from the Business School, Claire McCallum from Humanities and Sophie Corrigan from Biosciences, really have enjoyed reviewing the projects and learning about the undergraduate research from right across the university. I'd like to add my commendation to each one of you who submitted your research for this week's event, whether you won or whether you just had the pleasure of engaging. I'm really looking forward to hearing some of you speak very soon. So through your research activity, you've made a phenomenal difference to the university. You've been gaining new skills that will certainly be beneficial for you going into the future, whatever direction of career you take. But before I close my remarks and move on to announcing our winners, I'd like to use a quotation from a previous showcase participant to emphasise the importance of this event and of student engagement with research. So Sophie Corrigan was a biosciences student who presented at last year's showcase, and I'm delighted to say has now progressed to postgraduate study here, which is why she's on the judging panel. And Sophie says, the most exciting part of research for me is being able to communicate all your hard work to the wider world. An incredible array of undergraduate projects are carried out each year with some really interesting results that help fuel Exeter's reputation as a top research institute. Being able to showcase your work is so important as a researcher, and the undergraduate showcase provides a great opportunity to practice. So thanks, Sophie. I couldn't have put it better myself, which is why I've quoted you. And thanks to you and all the colleagues of the judging panel for the work that you've undertaken. I'd also like to thank everybody involved in organising the showcase from the Academic Skills team. So Amanda Pocklington, Thomas Allars, Gemma Asher and Emily Bushnell, who set us off on today's events. So it's now that sort of moment when, if this was on TV, there'll be a very long pause, but it's my great pleasure to announce our winning and highly commended students in this year's undergraduate research showcase. So in the posters category, highly commended, Gemma Newbold from Geography, using Landsat 8 OLI to combat desertification, monitoring Just Digit regreening projects in Kenya. Catherine Buller from Biosciences, how effective is the BCG vaccine in preventing bovine tuberculosis in badger populations? Natasha Reddy from Medical Sciences, does the loss of STAT6 lead to HLA-I hyperexpression in beta cells? So huge congratulations, Gemma, Catherine and Natasha. I hope I read out the titles of your projects accurately, but really fascinating sounding research, and congratulations on your highly commended. And the winners in this category are Sarah Abdel Ahad in renewable energy, introducing solar square glass blocks in Dubai metro stations, and a group project, Gemma Asher, Isabel Ewing, Alaya Ramnarine in psychology. Will the correction of a self-other bias have an effect on bystander intervention during sexual harassment within the nighttime scene? So huge congratulations, Sarah, Gemma, Isabella, and Alaya on winning that category. Moving on, I hope that people are applauding in online or wherever you are at the moment. So moving on to the abstracts category, we have highly commended Anwar Nim from Medical Sciences, exploring the molecular consequences of disrupting the interaction between contactin 4 and amyloid precursor protein implicated in the pathology of Alzheimer's disease. Gemma Brownbill of Sports and Health Sciences, deception of isometric exercise intensity, neuromuscular and performance outcomes of fatigue. So again, huge congratulations to Anwar and Gemma on your highly commended awards. And finally, the winners of this category, Amber Luckett from Medical Sciences, utilizing a novel CRISPR-Cas9 approach to the study of STAT3 localization in pancreatic beta cells, and Bente Hollistel in Medical Sciences, also Medical Sciences, a real strong field for Medical Sciences. HLA class 2 variants influence Meniere's disease susceptibility in the UK biobank population. So huge congratulations, Amber and Bente, on those, on winning that category. So congratulations to you all. Our 4 winning entrants will go forward to present at the British Conference of Undergraduate Research with the registration fees paid by the university. And the 4 highly commended entrants will receive a voucher from a well-known online supplier. Thank you all once again for being with us today to celebrate the excellence of our undergraduate research. I hope you all enjoy the presentations this afternoon, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from them and the rest of the week's exhibitions.